Welcome, guys. So happy to not see you, but feel you. I feel your presence. I feel your energy. And I'm excited to be able to do another start sit video for week 4. We got some good ones, a lot of potential sleepers in week 4. A lot of you guys need players to fill out your rosters, dealing with bye weeks. And this is when it starts getting really interesting, guys. This is where it's really like a chess matchup. And this is where you really got to start digging deep. And you guys have come to the right place because you guys know I never leave any stone unturned. And for those of you that are new, welcome. If you find this information beneficial, entertaining, or just feel like being nice, give me a thumbs up. More importantly, a subscribe, and turn on the bell for notifications. Also, guys, this truly is the last day to get into my private Facebook group. So many of you have joined. So many of you have loved it. I love the feedback I've been getting from you guys. It helps me out. It gives me energy and enthusiasm to keep doing what I'm doing. I've done total roster assessments, total roster reconstructions, telling you who to get rid of, who to pick up on your waiver wire, how to build the proper championship teams. That's what's provided in the Facebook group. And the best part about it is $10. It's literally cheaper than anything you could get out there, and it's more hands-on than anything. I am literally answering every single question of yours, guaranteed. We have a schedule. I do private lives, $10, no-brainer, guys. Well, if you're interested in that, comment or send me a DM on Instagram at fantasyfootballrapper. You could also reach me on Twitter at IamFFRapper. Well, guys, let's get into why you're here. Today's or this week's start sits, week 4. All right, we'll start with the Titans and the Falcons. Titans playing at home. I expect the aerial attack. Tennessee's defense is good. They're going to be in this game. Tennessee's one of those teams that's pretty much in every game. Take away Thursday's game. Just like everybody's like talking so much about, the Packers and the Eagles. I heard Colin Cowherd say that, this Packers defense is a mirage. Well, yeah, every defense is a mirage on Thursday Night Football because they can't game plan and they're on a short week. These guys haven't even recovered from the last game and they're already turning around and playing on Thursday. So don't read too much into those Thursday night games, guys. Although I will say this on a side note, LaFleur's play calling has been horrible. So you can read into that. Titans, you're starting Derrick Henry. I mean, outside of Derrick Henry, I guess Delaney Walker. Delaney Walker's look really good, the ageless one. You're starting him. He gets a lot of targets. And, in this terrible tight end climate that we're in, Delaney Walker is a really good start. The Falcons, Julio against Malcolm Butler. I mean, that's cruel and unusual punishment. But maybe they, send extra attention to Julio. Maybe that'll free up Calvin Ridley. Adoree Jackson will probably be on Ridley. Adoree Jackson is burnable. So you can possibly see a big play from Calvin Ridley because he's just ultra talented. I also like players that are coming off like down weeks. He only had 1 target. So sometimes their quarterback will, throw him a bone there since he only gave him 1 target last week. And I like this because Atlanta is at home. Atlanta's a lot better at home, especially Matt Ryan's a lot more comfortable at home in a dome. So, but I do expect a tight game. But start all your Falcons pretty much. Not Ridley. I mean, not Ridley. Not Freeman. Freeman is just, like I said, Freeman is borderline like waiver trash. But Hooper's a good start. Hooper, one of my favorite players coming into the season. Good matchup, again, at home. Hooper's an every week starter. There's a few of you who have Waller and Hooper, and even that is kind of like, a toss-up since Hooper's in the better offense, but Waller's just been getting crazy targets. So unless you got Waller, and like I said, even that is kind of, it's debatable. Hooper's an every week start and is a great one this week. Pats and Bills. This I expect to be a really good game. I actually put money on the Bills to cover 7.5 point spread. when you're at home, that's just ridiculous. I expect them to cover. I expect the defense to play really well. I might even be starting them in one of my leagues unless I could get the Steelers defense, who's currently on waivers. I'm waiting for them to free up because I'll never – guys, don't ever spend a waiver on a defense. That's one of my rules. If you're spending waivers on defense and kickers, we need to have a chat, and you need to get in my Facebook group immediately. For the Pats side of the ball, I don't think Brady's a good start. I have no problem benching Brady, Some people might, but, it all depends, of course. But I do think Edelman and White, this is definitely a James White game. James White's going to ball. Buffalo's got a great defense, but, Tom Brady's not going to get the ball. Josh Gordon is a sit, for sure. Tre'Davious White, he's a sit. They're on the road. That's Brady's security blanket. Edelman may or may not play. And if Edelman does play, I think Edelman's a great play too. He tends to kill the Bills, and that's their weakness, kind of in the middle of the field, the slot. Love James White, though, this game. This is such a James. Anytime the Patriots face a really good defense, this is the clue, guys. The harder the matchup, the better the matchup for James White. There you have it. So James White against the Dolphins, he didn't play that great because they're easy. So they're, you know what I'm saying? They don't really need James White. But when the going gets tough, that's the guy you want. For the Bills, John Brown on Stephen Gilmore, definitely a sit. Josh Allen, I hate this. I'm in a league. Well, most of my leagues only have 3 quarterbacks. I have Winston, Allen, and Murray in all my leagues, period. Murray's a great start, but I do have one league, the Throne, the Followers League, that we only have Winston and we only have Josh Allen. I try to get Kyle Allen, try to buy him on the low with the fob. Somebody outbid me for $1. I put in $5, they put in 6. But I do like Allen a little bit more for 2 reasons than Winston, and why he's, if you're choosing between Josh Allen or Jacoby Brissett or Case Keenum, this is where that talent over everything comes into play. Because if I've been in this situation, even this year, guys, I played Derek Carr, I think, over Kyler Murray, because I think Kyler Murray was playing. I think Derek Carr was playing KC. I think it was week 2, and Kyler Murray was playing Baltimore. So I didn't follow my own advice. I didn't do the talent verse over everything. And Carr threw a clunker. And despite a tough matchup, Murray played pretty good. And even Winston. Neither of them did great, but they still did better than Carr. And this feels like the same situation where, Jacoby Brissett has a better matchup. Case Keenum, some people are considering starting him. But you know what? I'd rather go down with Josh Allen. And the reason why Josh Allen, I don't think he's going to have a great game, but I like in the sense that 2 things he's got going for him. He's at home, and he's got the running ability. So when you have running quarterbacks, you could throw for 1 touchdown, which I fully believe he'll at least throw for 1, and then make up some of those yardage or some of those points on the ground. So that's why I don't mind. It's not a great start, but I still take Allen at home with his legs than Winston on the road who doesn't run. So, and I'll still take Josh Allen over Case Keenum. And I just feel like those guys could throw clunkers at any time, and it just wouldn't feel right to me. And then other than that, I don't really want any. I mean, if you're going for like a sleeper, a home run, if you're really, really in a deeper league, tight end Dawson Knox, since, you hear me say this often, the ball's got to go somewhere. I don't see it going to John Brown on Gilmore. They're limited on pass catchers. Maybe Dawson Knox. I like the way he looked. I mean, I really like the way he looked. I think he could be a future star in this league. He might be a dart at tight end since, like I said, the climate that we're in might call for it. Chiefs and Lions, who aren't we starting? I think the Chiefs playmaker I like the most this game is Demarcus Robinson. He's looked really, really, really good. Sammy Watkins will probably be on Slay. Justin Coleman, depending who plays the slot, I don't know if it's Miko. They like to put their receivers, all of the receivers, to play all 3 different positions is what I noticed for the most part. Kansas City. But I just feel like Demarcus Robinson has looked the best. He has Mahomes' trust. He's very talented, and he's probably got the best matchup. So I really like Demarcus Robinson in a game that should feature a lot of points. Kelsey, obviously. I really like McCoy this game, too. There's not a lot of stud running backs, especially like in DFS. I was looking that I really like. I think McCoy could be one of those guys. Again, it's going to be a high-scoring game. Damian Williams is out. Darrell Williams did most of his damage when McCoy left the game last week. So Darrell Williams, a lot of you are considering starting him. I would definitely temper your expectations. He could be a flex, but I don't know if I'm starting him over a guy like, let's say, DJ Shark, who has looked amazing. Shark has a horrible matchup against Chris Harris, but still, it's not always. Sometimes, very few corners shadow, and usually coaches will move their receivers around to get them open. So it's not like DJ Shark Chris Harris will be on DJ Shark 100% of the time. That rarely happens in the NFL. I don't think it'll happen in week 3. So I'd rather take his talent and upside. And all it takes is one big play, which DJ Shark is. I'm just giving you one example. DJ Shark, Cortland Sutton, players not in so great matchups that I think I like over Darrell Williams because I don't see him getting a ton of volume. He is a flex consideration, but I don't consider him a particularly strong flex, which a lot of people might assume because high-scoring game, Detroit, Damian Williams out. I do think McCoy will handle the bulk of the touches. Lions really love Golladay, kind of like Calvin Ridley. Really disappointed us last week, especially Golladay, man. Philadelphia, and you throw up 3 points against the worst secondary, arguably, in the league. I do think he gets back on track with another soft secondary. Kerryon Johnson, if not now, then when? I mean, Kansas City has been brutal. I think they're giving like almost 6 yards per carry to running backs. And Kerryon Johnson, say what you want, he's been disappointing, but 75% of the snaps last week, 20 carries, goal line work against Kansas City in a high-scoring match. Like I said, if not now, then when? So I like him. I'll bet on Kerryon. I'll bet on the talent. And then the usage. Finally, like that was the main thing. They're like, why isn't Kerryon only getting 13 carries? And no, so the usage is there. I like Kerryon Johnson. I think Hawkinson could be a sneaky play. Kansas City has been suspect. In years past, they've been pretty good against tight end. This year, they have not. So Hawkinson, another player who's had 2 clunkers. I could see him maybe getting in for a score in a high-scoring game at home. Marvin Jones is flex consideration, again, because there's going to be a lot of points scored. We don't know exactly who they're going to go to. Amendola, it might go to him, but I'm less confident in Amendola. I think the ones that I really like Golladay, I really like Kerryon Johnson, and I think Hawkinson could be a sleeper. Jones is kind of, a toss-up. Raiders and Colts. Love Josh Jacobs. Love Josh Jacobs this game. This is such a Josh Jacobs game. It's not often we're going to get a game script where it's going to be a plus matchup for Jacobs because Oakland is A, bad in defense, and B, doesn't have a lot of playmakers, and Derek Carr is under center. So the fact that, they're playing Indianapolis Colts, not exactly a potent offense, even though they look like one last week, but T.Y. is probably not playing. So T.Y. is probably not playing. That limits the offensive upside. I think the Raiders are going to come ready to play. I think Josh Jacobs is going to get around 20-plus touches. John Gruden mentioned that he wants to get him more involved in the passing game. So I love Josh Jacobs. Did I include him in my buy low? I think I did. I think you should buy him low, and I think you should start him this week, and I think he's a really, really solid play. I think Tyrell Williams is also a solid play, being based on the fact that they don't have a lot of pass catchers. Indianapolis, their top corner is nothing to write home about. And then Waller's a must-start every week. Indianapolis not really good at defending the tight end either. Darius Leonard is out for the game, so this could be another blow-up game for Darren Waller. So love Waller. He might be a TE1 this week again. Who else? On the Colts side of the ball, again, T.Y. is probably out. He basically is. Mac at home with T.Y. out, going to get a ton of volume. So Mac is really, must start here. And I mean, if you drafted him, Mac, you're starting him anyway. And then Ebron. I think Ebron, it's either going to be Ebron, Doyle, possibly both. But I think Ebron has a better shot at getting a touchdown or two, or at least one. So I like Ebron. Again, we're in a climate where the tight ends are not very good. Now, I like Ebron over two other guys that I mentioned, over Hawkinson and over Dawson Knox. For those of you that are trying to decide, several of these guys are on your waiver wire. I do like Ebron because it's Oakland. Oakland, really bad defense, really bad against tight end. No T.Y. Hilton. You saw an uptick in his targets once T.Y. Hilton left the game last week, and he's their red zone threat. So Ebron is a really sneaky play here. Other than that, Mac and Ebron, not sure I want too much out of the Colts offense. I don't even think Brissett, like I said, is shaky. It's shaky without T.Y. Hilton. It's like, even though Oakland's bad, but like at some point you got to have some pride. You can't just let a team without their best receiver just light you up. So Brissett, not necessarily a great I think I might even like Case Keenum a bit more than Jacoby Brissett. So we'll see. Chargers in Miami, fire them up. Rivers, Keenan Allen. Oh my God, Keenan Allen might get 50 this game. Eckler, obviously, Eckler might be his last, game as the number one running back for this team. So I think he's gonna have a great game. And then Inman's a sneaky play. I picked him up in Dynasty because I'm hurting at receiver right now, and I'm actually starting him. Again, he's a dart, but a good dart, especially if I don't think Xavier Howard is gonna shadow Keenan Allen. It really doesn't matter either way because he's gonna get a ton of targets. But Inman, Mike Williams is out for this game, and Henry is out for the year. So it's basically Keenan Allen and Inman. They can't all go to Keenan Allen. He's already getting 50. Maybe Inman can get 15. I don't know. So Inman is a dart, but pretty darn good one. Especially since some of you guys, like I said, either dealing with injuries or buys or, drafted bad. Inman, enter at your own risk. But I think the odds are fairly well. Miami, it's Miami. But I really like this kid, Preston Williams. As bad as Miami's been, first 2 weeks, Baltimore and New England, as a rookie, still put up 10 points every single week, at least. Those are wide receiver 3 numbers. And now he gets Chargers, who should be up ahead, blowing him out. Had 12 targets last week in a similar situation. Rosen and him got a connection. I think they played even in high school ball, a game or something together. I don't think they played on the same school, but whatever. The point being, there's nobody in Miami. They're going to be down. There seems to be a connection. He had 12 targets last week, hasn't had less than 10 points. That sounds like a pretty safe start to me, especially, again, bye weeks have started to kick in. I think he's a lot better than some of these other guys I've seen you consider, like Darrell Williams. I would take Preston Williams over Darrell Williams, and he might be on your waiver wire. But I really like this kid because he's talented, he's tall, and his opportunity is good, not because he's in a good offense, but the opposite. They're going to be down every game because they have such a bad defense. So I really like this kid, Preston Williams. And then Drake. Chargers, they're generous against running backs. Again, they're going to be down. They can't all go to Preston Williams. So I think Drake can get you 10 to 15 points. And again, we're talking flex here. Some of you guys need some flex. Drake's a consideration. He had almost 10 points the last 2 weeks. Bad matchups. Why can't he get 10 points to 15 against a good matchup? That's my thinking. Skins and Giants, another game that has shootout potential, like a lot of players this game, actually. I love Sterling Shepard this week. I think Sterling Shepard, it was never, just like the whole Giants offense, it was never a question of talent with Shepard. He's a very talented receiver. And we saw that. As soon as Daniel Jones comes in, 7 catches over 100 yards, and he had a touchdown as well. Don't remember. great matchup. Josh Norman, don't even think about it. So he's got a great matchup. And then, guys, this is what a quarterback does. A good quarterback will make good receivers great and great receivers Hall of Famers. And Sterling Shepard's a really good receiver, and he can get separation. He's fast and he's elusive. And then you got a quarterback like Danny Dimes, because that's what he does. He drops dimes, guys. I mean, I look back at his tape, and it's like everything is just so bing, 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 bing. He's like an architect. Amazing. Good matchup. Daniel Jones at home. Redskins surprisingly good against tight ends. Sounds like Sterling Shepard all day, especially in a game that's supposed to be like, I think the spread, it's like, I don't know, 49 points or something like that. So it's going to be high scoring. Redskins, as crappy as their team looks, somehow they still managed to put up points. They even put up points, not a lot of points, but considering it was the Bears, Case Keenum still threw for 2 touchdowns. So I think Case Keenum will keep things interesting. I don't feel good starting Case Keenum, but, temper at your own risk or enter at your own risk, whatever. But Paul Richardson could be a sneaky play. Terry McLaurin, Scary Terry, if he plays, you're starting him. It's a good matchup. But I think Paul Richardson might be the guy because Janoris Jenkins, he's been getting burnt. So I think Scary Terry's good. But sometimes he might, at least play decent, maybe. I don't know. But he is nursing a hammy. There was question marks whether he will play, so we still don't know. So check on that. But if he plays, you're starting him. And I still think, I would still start him over Paul Richardson, but Paul Richardson is a really sneaky play. 2 touchdowns the last 2 weeks, had 8 receptions with a touchdown against the Bears. So Paul Richardson, a sneaky play. Again, if you guys need darts at flex, that's a pretty good one because there's supposed to be a lot of points scored in this game. So keep an eye out for him. And, when it comes to Ingram, I'm not saying bench Ingram. I'm just saying it's not the best matchup. And I'm just giving you, my take on Sterling Shepard that I love. I think he could be a top 10 receiver this week, really. And Darius Slayton, another dart. If you're in a deeper league, first game, guys. I talked about him in my what did I talk about him? Some video I made. I talk about him. On my Instagram, I did a post. He's a must in Dynasty, must add. And you guys know I love talented guys. He's really talented. He reminds me a lot of DJ Shark, kind of slender, very fast guys, can get open, separation, good route runners. Really similar to DJ Shark. Love this kid. Absolutely love him. And again, good matchup because Josh Norman's their best corner. So talking about the Redskins. So imagine their second corner. Their second corner's been beat. And because they don't have Golden Tate right now, and Ingram is in a tougher matchup, I think Slayton garners flex consideration in deeper leagues and as a DFS dart if you're trying to save money for the bigger players, for your Keenan Allens, your Ecklers, things like that. Browns and Ravens. Man, the Browns have looked bad. Their offensive line is really bad. I don't think the play calling is doing a very good job. So the only Browns I really like, and it's not like I'm in love with the matchup at Baltimore, but I do like Nick Chubb. I do think they'll try to establish the run, try to keep Lamar Jackson, the Baltimore Ravens, off the field. So I do expect him to get another 20-plus touches. OBJ, you're starting him. Tough matchup, though, against Marlon Humphreys, against a team that likes to rush the quarterback, and your offensive line is trash. So, but it's OBJ. You're starting him, obviously. Ravens, their secondary is really banged up. A lot of analysts and stuff are like Marquise Brown. I'm still ambivalent. I'm still not sold on Brown. I know the Browns have a banged up secondary, but they held their own with the exception of Cooper Kupp, because the guy's 6'4" playing the slot and just absolutely killed him. With the exception of Cooper Kupp, they did pretty decent outside. And sometimes, and I mentioned to this in another situation where it was a couple of weeks ago, Kerryon Johnson playing the Eagles. The Eagles were down 2 defensive tackles, Malik Jackson and Jurgen. And I said sometimes it's a system, guys. I said temper your expectations on carry on. Despite Eagles being down 2 defensive tackles, their system is just really good against, stopping the run. And this is kind of a similar situation. Cleveland still has a good pass rush. Lamar Jackson, as he demonstrated week 3, is still not the best thrower of the football. I don't count Miami Dolphins or the Arizona Cardinals as a legit defense. Kansas City's not even legit, and he barely threw for 50% or completed 50% of his passes. So I would temper expectations on Brown. Who I do really like is Mark Andrews. I've never seen a team that uses the tight ends, and all 3 of them, because they got a bunch of them. They got Nick Boyle, they got Hayden Hurst, and they just feature the tight end, and that's the Browns' weakness, the tight end. So Mark Andrews, and who's the other tight end I said I love this week? Waller, probably my 2 favorite tight ends this week. So those are the 2 guys you want to start there. Panthers and Texans. Another one of those games. Fire them up. Love Kyle Allen. Looked really good. Looked really sharp. Very decisive. I love quarterbacks that get rid of the ball fast because it doesn't give the defense a chance, especially a defense like the Texans that are good at rushing the quarterback. It doesn't give them a chance to get many sacks, and when you have a defense that's very suspect in the secondary, and that helps then when you have a quarterback that's decisive and he's got the weapons. DJ Moore, Curtis Samuel, I love both of them. Love both of them this week, and I love both of them, especially with Kyle Allen as a quarterback. It looks like he has a little more chemistry with Curtis Samuel. He's such a great play this week in DraftKings. I have him in a lot of my lineups as well. So, Olsen's been on fire, CMC obviously. So pretty much I like all of the Panthers this game. Same could be said, Texans, Duke Johnson's been a disappointment. But if there's ever a game, Carolina is suspect against pass-catching backs. So if there's ever a game, they spent such a high – third-round pick is high, guys, for a running back. So you would have to imagine they're going to want to use him. And Hyde, turned back into a pumpkin last week. Carolina's good against stopping the run. So might be a Duke Johnson game, but it's a dart. I'm not saying start Duke Johnson. I'm just saying if there's ever a chance, this might be it. Kenny Stills is a sleeper because I think, Bradbury's going to probably be locked up with Hopkins. You're still starting Hopkins, don't get me wrong, but Bradbury is a solid corner. And that means, Stills is going to have a more favorable matchup. He has outplayed both Kiki Cutie and Will Fuller and has gotten increased snaps each week. Remember, he was a late addition right before the season started. So Kenny Stills is another one of those darts that I keep mentioning. Bucks and Rams. I like Godwin this game. Bucks are going to have to keep up. Rams are very good at home. Tampa Bay traveling all across the country. That's never a good thing. Goff, arguably my favorite quarterback this week. I'm not a big Goff guy, but he is a matchup quarterback, and the matchup is perfect for Goff. He has all of his weapons. Tampa is sus at the cornerback position. They got to travel. He's at home. Start all your Bucks. I have a funny feeling this might be a comeback game for Woods. This might be his breakout game. So another player I'll be starting in DFS. Now, this is kind of like a hunch. Cooper Kupp's been the guy. You obviously got him in your lineup. He's the most safest receiver. I like Brandon Cooks this game because the Bucks could be cooked. So it's hard to decide which one is going to be the guy. I think Cooper Kupp could kind of be the middle guy, get you 15 to 20. I think Woods might be the blow-up guy, but I think Cooks could also get a couple big plays. So you're starting all your Rams receivers. It's just kind of a gut thing. I just feel like Woods is a really good receiver. He's really been kind of, slow start, and I think they're going to try to get him the ball. And he typically garners more targets than Brandon Cooks, who relies more on the big play and less volume. So love the Rams, love Goff. I like Godwin. Evans has a much tougher matchup Wayne Phillips is arguably the best defensive coordinator in the league. Done another masterful job with this defense. They're at home against the Bucks. Do not have a good offensive line, so it's going to be more underneath, more shorter passes that plays more into Godwin, who will probably avoid both Marcus Peters and Talib. So Evans, again, you're starting him. Temper expectations. Hawks and Cards, another game that could be, a big scoring game. Chris Carson has looked terrible. I guess you're starting him, especially since bye weeks kicked in. Arizona has been surprisingly good against stopping the run, but they're also, I read a stat, one of the teams that stacks the box the most. So Chris Carson, not a great start. Who is a good start is Russell Wilson. He's been on fire. It looks like they're becoming more of a passing team because Chris Carson has not been particularly good. Rashad Penny's been injured. He may or may not come back this week. Regardless, I wouldn't start him. The one that I think both Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf are great starts this week. Arizona Cardinals, their corners are among the league worst, if not the worst, since they don't have Patrick Peterson right now. So I love both Lockett and DK Metcalf. I could see DK Metcalf scoring a touchdown this game. He's looked pretty solid every game. I think this could be one of his higher scoring games. I looked for him to possibly get between that 15 to 20 range. Great sleeper this week. On the Cardinals side of the ball, again, love both Christian Kirk and Larry Fitzgerald. That's the Seattle Seahawks weakness. Now, they do have a good pass rush. The Arizona Cardinals don't have a good offensive line, so Murray will have to probably buy time. But I like Murray this week as well because, again, he's playing at home. Suspect secondary. Seattle's defense does not look good at all. This has the makings for a possible shootout. So I love all of the receivers this game. Not a fan of the running backs this game. Temper expectations for DJ and Chris Carson. Vikings and Bears. My brother actually pointed out a stat. Diggs has been horrible, but he actually killed the Bears last season in both games. I think he had a touchdown. I don't know. My brother told me the stat. I didn't look it up for myself, but it looks like Diggs could be a sneaky play only because, look, Chicago's good all the way around. So they're going to stop the run. I don't know if Cook can be stopped, but he definitely ain't going nuts on the Bears. So they're going to have to probably throw more than they're accustomed to, even though the Bears are good against, the pass as well. But Diggs has been, Diggs is special, guys. Diggs, I always say big players do big things. And since he killed the Bears last year, their defense was just as good. They're going to have to throw more than usual because, they can't rely on Cook against the Bears to carry the ball 20 times and do what he's done. So this could be a spot for Diggs. I consider him more of an upside flex, wide receiver 3, but it could be a spot, and it could be a spot for Thielen. Because, again, they're going to have to throw the ball more than they're used to. So Dalvin Cook, you're starting him, but I would temper expectations because the Bears are legit. They're really good at stopping the run. But big players do big things, and I don't think Cook is a sit by any means. I think he'll, but it's more like low RB1, maybe high RB2 for this game. Bears, A-Rob, shadowed by Xavier Rhodes, so I don't like him at all. David Montgomery, if he gets the volume, he could produce a solid game, but Minnesota's really good defense, really good at stopping the run, might even be better in the pass. Taylor Gabriel is out this game with a concussion. Will we see increased targets for Anthony Miller? Could be a sneaky game for him. Like I said, A-Rob's going to be shut down. Montgomery in the running game is probably going to be shut down. Tariq Cohen, they're a good pass defense. The ball's got to go somewhere, and it's probably more so than Anthony Miller, though. I probably like Trey Burton because that's the one weakness that Minnesota's defense has shown. Austin Hooper had a really good game against them a couple of weeks ago. So I do think Trey Burton is a sneaky play. Again, we're dealing with a tight end climate that's not very good. So Trey Burton remember, he was nursing a groin, missed week 1, played very sparingly in week 2, increased his snaps in week 3. Now he's a full go. It's the first time he's been a full participant in practice all season. Good matchup. Not to the naked eye, but all things considered, I could see him getting 6 targets and being, top 15 tight end. Just something to think about. Jags and Broncos. DJ Shark has been on fire, but Chris Harris is now playing the outside, so he could see a lot of Chris Harris. Not the best matchup. I would consider him sitting. I would consider sitting him, but again, it depends on what you got because big players do big things. But Denver, especially for a rookie quarterback, even though this guy Minshew looks cooler than the other side of the pillow, like nothing phases him, Denver is one of the toughest places to play. That crowd is nuts. The thin air. The defense is way better at home. You got Chris Harris. So DJ Shark, he's more of a flex this week. Fournette, horrible matchup. He gets a lot of volume, but Denver's really good, like I said, at home. Really good at stopping the run. And I think this is going to be the lowest scoring game of the week. 2 really good defenses, even though Denver hasn't really, played that great from a fantasy perspective. They have no sacks this year. All their games have been low scoring, and Jags are not a prolific offense, so not a lot of opportunity for points. So I don't like DJ Shark or Fournette, but you're probably starting both depending on how good you're. But Shark would be a flex. Fournette would be like an RB2. Broncos, I think this is more of a Royce Freeman game. You guys got to realize Royce Freeman has outplayed Lindsey. Lindsey has scored more points, but he's still only averaging 3.9 yards per carry. He got the goal line work. I don't expect that to keep happening. He got those 2 cheap touchdowns. It was a wet field. We saw Green Bay cannot stop the run against anyone. Jordan Howard tore him a new one. This is different. This is the Jags. Jags, their strength is speed. Lindsey's strength is speed. That's not a good look for Lindsey this game. I think it's more of a Royce Freeman game because he's more of an in-between the tackles runner. He could still be a pass catcher. He's getting between 5 to 7 targets every game. I like Royce Freeman more than Lindsey. I think he's a decent low RB2, maybe flex, something like that. A sneaky play could be Noah Fant. Their weakness, the Jags, Delaney Walker was open all over the field for them on that Thursday night game. Again, it's more of an upside play. It's a desperation play is really what it is, but I don't know your leagues. I don't know how deep your leagues is, how stacked. Some people like holding 2 or 3 tight ends, but it's a dart. It's a dart. I just thought I'd mention it since Delaney Walker looked a little suspect. Noah Fant is another player that's been increasing, little by little, getting more targets. With Noah Fant, he's super talented. One of the top 5 probably most talented tight ends in the league. I think with him, it's a maturity thing. It's a mental thing, becoming a better pass blocker. It's those little things that he needs to tweak. But this guy has potential star ability. And then Sutton and Sanders. One of them is going to get the Ramsey treatment, maybe both. I think Sanders will probably get more of the Ramsey treatment. So Sutton is another one of those wide receiver 3/flex plays. Not the greatest matchups because I don't see a lot of points scored this game. Plus, he still got Flacco. But I might lean a little more towards Sutton this game. I really love Sutton's talent. If he had a legit QB, he could be a wide receiver 1 if he had a legitimate QB. Unfortunately, he doesn't. But just thought I'd mention it. Sutton, depending what your climate is, I'm not sitting Sutton for a scrub dart. I'm not sitting him for Kenny Stills or Inman or Paul Richardson or players like that who can outscore Sutton. Don't get me wrong, because they have a better matchup. But when it's close, I'll still lean towards the talent, even though it's not ideal. The good thing he got going for him, I'm talking about Sutton and Freeman, is at least they're at home. Again, another team that has to travel all the way across the country. Denver, very tough place to play. Thin air. They might get worn down, that Jaguars defense. And Freeman is the type of guy to do that. Cowboys and Saints. I think this one's going to be more competitive than people think. I think it's going to be possibly more low scoring. Saints are weird. Their defense always starts off bad and turns it up second half of the year. We're not quite at the second half, so maybe they're still giving up points. But, you know, Dallas is without Gallup. Saints are really good at stopping the run, not like you're benching Zeke. I'm just saying it's kind of like a Dalvin Cook situation. Maybe he's not a top 3 running back this week, but he's definitely a top, you know, lower RB1. You know what I'm saying? So Dak's not the same player. Again, Saints, they might have a crappy defense, at least every first half of the year, but they're tough at home. That crowd is nuts. It's loud. I think I could see them rattling Dak Prescott a little bit. So I would temper expectations on him. Maybe a lower QB1 than the higher QB1 he's been so far. He hasn't played anybody, too. Remember, Dak's first games were against the Giants, the Redskins, and the Dolphins. Like, does it get any better? So Cooper's been unstoppable, though. Marshawn Lattimore is more of a name than a shutdown corner. And this guy Keller has done an amazing job of moving Cooper all around the field and designing plays to get him open. This guy's he's like the next McVay, guys. Kellen Moore, I think his name is. Amazing offensive coordinator in Dallas, even though they've had cupcake matchups, but still the type of play calling that I saw, even in cupcake matches, sometimes the Dallas Cowboys weren't looking this nice. So, and then Saints, you know, you're starting Michael Thomas, really good matchup. He's going to get a ton of volume. And Kamara, you know, I don't know. There's not much to say. Two volume guys, they get a ton of volumes. Really surprised the way the Saints have used Kamara, especially as a goal line back. I really thought they would use Latavius Murray more, but Kamara is pretty much, you could say, a workhorse. When you're getting 10 targets, catching 9 of them like you did last week for a touchdown, including a big touchdown, and then you're getting 16 carries, that's a workhorse. Kamara is no longer like kind of that 60-40 guy. He's a workhorse, and that's scary because if he's going to be a workhorse, he's got RB1 potential overall. Bengals and Steelers, there's surprisingly some good players. When I started breaking it down, I said earlier, you know, in my what video was it? I was talking about how to come back from 0-3, and I was like, you don't want to start players in low-scoring games. And Steelers and Bengals, it's a rivalry, so it could be low-scoring, but there's a lot of players I actually like this in this game. Boyd, target monster. And I like Mixon because those are their 2 guys. Those are like the only 2 guys they got. So I expect them to get a ton of volume. They're going to have to keep up with Pittsburgh. They're on the road. They know they need to go to the guys they trust. I could see another like 14 target game for Boyd. And I could see Mixon getting the most volume he's got all season because he's slowly trending up. So 2 must starts there. I like the Steelers defense a lot. Kind of like what we saw with the Chicago Bears defense. It's Monday night. They know the spotlight's on them. They're at home. And I think that trade for Fitzpatrick, I already saw the difference in the defense. I think this defense is going to come out nasty. They're 0-3. They know this is a very winnable game against a division rival, suspect offensive line. I really like the Steelers defense this week as a start, as a streamer. Love Juju. Cincinnati's defense is horrible. And then I think there'll be another Steelers receiver. Maybe it's James Washington this week. Last week we saw it was Deontay Johnson get by for a big one. I think this week James Washington might be the guy. He saw 92% of the snaps. They're at home. Suspect defense. If not now, then when? So he's a guy you want to look out for, especially in DFS lineups where he could be if you play the captain mode, you get him super cheap. Really like James Washington. Connor. Breakout game for Connor. Connor's going to be used all over. Suspect, terrible defense, both against running, against passing. I think Connor's going to have a big game. I think Juju's going to have a big game, which means Mason Rudolph. I actually like Mason Rudolph better than Case Keenum or Jacoby Brissett if you guys were thinking about starting those guys. So I like Mason Rudolph. So basically, I like your Steelers. Now, if it's not Washington, it might be Deontay Johnson. One of those two receivers is going to be a wide receiver 3 this week, with Juju being a wide receiver 1. I don't know who it's going to be. I'm guessing it's James Washington's turn, but it's really just a guess. It's really just a guess. All right, guys. So there's your breakdown of all week 4 games. If there's something that struck a chord, you have a question, maybe I named several players and you're kind of twisted because you have a couple of them on your lineup, don't know who to start, just comment down below. Reach out to me on Instagram, comment on any posts, your questions. And then again, guys, last chance, private Facebook group, roster assessments, roster reconstructions, all of that, trade targets, how to really formulate a championship team is all done in that Facebook group. And we have a whole community too. It's really awesome. I love it. And it's only $10. So if you're interested in that, comment as well. Reach out to me on Instagram at fantasyfootballrapper, at Twitter at I am FFRapper. Well, guys, and don't forget to give me that sub if you found this information beneficial. A like is always appreciated. Thank you, and until next time, guys, peace out.